Welcome back, boys and girls, to the Natty 19 podcast. I am Jonathan Marshall, and we are back once again for episode 77. There's something I want to mention before we get going. There was a problem that came up, a technical problem with our audio files for this episode. We were able to salvage what we could, but for what we couldn't, we just couldn't put out the same type of episode that you're used to. But we went to great lengths to piece it together and to form this episode to where there's no missing content or gaps. Okay, so just bear with us, and and it should be a good time regardless. So here it goes, episode 77 of the Natty 19 podcast, partially narrated by Jonathan Marshall. All right, let's go. We're going to come into it tonight. Let's start out with a recap. So what do we got? You left off, first of all, well, you guys are still in the room. Zavrel's alive after triggering those magical traps.
I'm alive.
Which is good news coming into episode 77. You took a little bit of damage.
We did take...
Yeah.
Okay, when you guys had a fight, okay, you broke the crystalline sarcophagus. Kapernicus broke it. And a fight ensued with the Sioux monster mummy, who dropped the mace, the vile-looking mace. Both Kapernicus and Irame went for it. Kapernicus ended up winning the draw. He got it. And when he touched it, again, a battle ensued for control of Kapernicus, this time between Wongo, the Sioux monster, and Obalaka, the koala bear. And that battle ensues, Kapernicus. And as the dust settles, the light dims down, and you see rise from the dark floor a evil-looking, almost like a bat monkey, deep red eyes, barely glowing inside, razor-sharp teeth. And he walks up to you, Kapernicus. He looks you up and down. And he stands behind you. And he leans forward, and you can feel his breath on your neck. And he says, "Well, my friend, shall we get out of here? Escape this filthy prison?"
I gotta say, I like Wongo's motivation. Get the fuck out of here, too.
So despite Irame's optimism, they quickly realized that the spirit of Wongo, as selfish as he is, was influencing Kapernicus further. Kapernicus then discards the ring that he got in Obalaka's tomb, and it was Irame who quickly snatched that ring up.
Irame will still pick up the ring and put it in her satchel.
Oh, is that a saving throw for Irame?
Oh, I can't touch it. I thought I thought I had to put it on.
So, of course, the spirit of Obalaka tries to possess Irame. Irame attempted to resist the possession, but fails.
Fuck me.
I almost said something, and I was trying to figure out how to phrase it.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck it, I'll just pick up the ring.
I thought you had to put it on.
So, Irame, this koala bear-looking creature, approaches you in this kind of dark space and proceeds to speak. "I suppose I can overlook your wanting to resist my presence, though I must say if you plan to make it out of this tomb alive, you will most likely need the aid of myself and my colleagues, with few exceptions." One exception specifically would be Wongo. It is imperative we get rid of that one immediately. At least, whenever the opportunity presents itself, I would suggest.
Are we going to see these two fight it out?
That's what I'm wondering too.
No, this actually is pretty close to her character anyway, so it's not that bad.
So, having gone through this, Svitlongi might suspect that Kapernicus is faced with a spirit, and also being at least halfway intelligent, knowing that if Erame picked up the ring that he previously had, he might be affected. Can I make a perception check or something just to gauge whether or not these two are influenced?
So Svitlongi ended up failing that perception check, but I think it's pretty evident to the party, especially with Kapernicus talking to himself, that I think it's pretty evident what's going on here.
Honestly,
that's a 5, yeah.
Honestly, this wouldn't change Irame's demeanor really in the slightest.
Yeah, mostly like Svitlongi would take note that you picked up the ring, and she would observe you to see if anything was different. And she would also observe Kapernicus, knowing that he grabbed the mace.
And we already heard Cappy talking out loud to himself, so...
Yep. True.
That one was pretty obvious.
Very true.
So it was at this point where Kapernicus, under the influence of Wongo, grows bored of this conversation. He then opens a dimension door, takes one last look at the party, and he steps through it. And the door closes behind him, leaving the party abandoned in this room, with the only way out being that hallway, the corridor with the propeller trap.
We're trapped in. Yeah.
Well, I guess before stepping through the door, he probably would have looked at everybody and said, "Don't worry, you'll figure it out." Anyway, it was at that point Obalaka turned to Erame and said, "It is just like that Wongo to do something like this. He places all of our lives in jeopardy. We need to get rid of him at all costs."
Irame will just say, "I rather agree."
And to what do you agree with, Elf?
It seems I have acquired the spirit of Obalaka. I thought that just picking up the ring would be fine, but I thought you actually had to put the ring on, but it turns out just touching it, I must have forgotten, would bring upon you the bear's spirit.
It seems the trickster gods here are playing with us.
Zavril's going to walk over to Copernicus's grappling hook and start packing it up.
So I think at this point, if there were still any questions as to whether or not Kapernicus was possessed or otherwise acting unseemly, everybody following along up to this point knows how much he loves his grappling hook and rope, and he would never leave it behind. So yes, James, of course, thanks K-Way for grabbing it for him.
I wasn't going to tell you about it.
If you are all able, I think the safest bet out of here, I do have one higher level spell. I could cast Fly on all three of us.
Would that get us past the blades?
I believe so.
Really? Sorry, I might be misunderstanding our situation.
I think there's a trap that would set the blades in motion, and if we fly, we don't set off that trap.
Oh, like we have to walk on the...
The entire floor is trapped
okay.
on the other end of the blade, so
on
since we got past
on the other side, right?
Again.
The whole corridor. Okay.
Irame will reach to Zavril and touch his shoulder, and then to Svitlongi and say, "Sorry, no pixie dust."
So, having imbued the party with the ability of flight, the group was then free to leave the tomb, and they return out to the main room. But I think it's worth mentioning that we were all still picturing Zavril kind of his ass lifting up first and just kind of floating for a little bit. It was just funny at the time anyway.
Well done, young elf.
How long does this last for?
It's a concentration, and up to 10 minutes. So
On the flight towards the main room, Obalaka whispers in Irame's ear, it's worth mentioning to your suspicious friend that we are not here to play games with you. You see, we were murdered, and I believe the only freedom we see, where we are capable of seeing, is if you put an end to the creator of this tomb, our murderer.
So Irame will say to Svitlangi, as uncomfortable as it is, I do believe that these spirits want to be free of here as much as we do.
Well, they will not be using me to do so. I have a question for the two of you. Shall we waste our time looking for your friend? Shall we risk ourselves following him into danger? Or shall we cut the drow loose?
No, we stay together. It's safer.
Do you agree, Hunter?
Yes, I agree. I've known Kapernicus for a long time now.
Well, it's settled then. With that, we will continue doing what we've been doing. We'll find the creator of this horrible place, kill him, and we can all go about our separate ways.
So when we make our way back out into that area with the railing where we can see below us, is Kapernicus already gone, or do we see him?
We can actually just continue to fly.
I didn't know.
That's what I was
didn't
gonna
know
do.
how much of a
I kind
head
of wanted
start
to fly
that you had.
to where I saw that guy.
Yeah, see, so Kapernicus was actually waiting for them. He was just kind of giving them a scare, I guess. He actually dimension doored to the top of that stairwell that leads down to the level below from the main room, the balcony room.
I wasn't sure that you were waiting for us.
But before we get to that, see, Zavril had mentioned that he wanted to kind of fly down to where he saw that that tomb dwarf spying on them on the landing below. And when he did notice, bolted to the wall on some sort of plaque of sorts, there's another set of inscriptions.
So it's kind of on a metal plate. Then.
I see something bolted in here. It looks like another set of warnings.
Irame is going to kind of lazily float down next to Kapernicus. Say, read it aloud, Hunter.
The ring is a path to another tomb. The dead abhor sunlight. Only a jewel can tame the frog. Bow as the dead god intoned.
Bow.
Into darkness descend.
I would have.
I don't know what any of that means.
Bow as the dead god intoned.
Oh, bow? Yeah, that too.
Now, it's safe to say that this is another set of warnings that Zavril found, leading down to floor level 2. Not unlike the warnings that they found on the obelisk that led to level 1. Clues to this floor's obstacles? Perhaps. Let's hear it again with a little less,
The ring is a path to another tomb. The dead abhor sunlight. Only a jewel can tame the frog. Bow as the dead god intoned, and into darkness descend.
Can Svitlangi make an insight check based on everything she's experienced in the tomb so far to try to anticipate where it is that she might find the hold on, let me check. Is it a crown?
Yeah, so right here, Svitlangi, she's wondering if any of the clues that they had found so far can be linked to the black opal crown that she had been sent in for as Fenthaza's dying wish or last wish.
I just want to see if anything has fallen into place for her. That would be a 14.
So a 14 isn't bad. However, no, I don't think that Svitlangi would pick up, based on the clues that they found, that there's anything linking the Black Opal Crown to any of these clues.
Is there, I guess also, would I associate the crown with one of these trickster gods at all?
So I think Svitlangi, pining for this information, it's a good idea. And it feels natural. especially how since the walls are closing in, so to speak, with Zavril's recent mishap with that trap that could have very well killed him. Just a luck of a die stopped that from happening. So yeah, I think I see where Svitlangi is coming from. But no, the Yuanti came from a time after the Legend of the Nine Gods, so they don't really know all too much about them other than the cubes in the shrines and what's written in those shrines.
Yep, that's fine. I was just curious.
Meanwhile, Irame had returned to the side of Kapernicus, and together they ponder the origin of these clues. Was it these gods, these dead gods, that wrote them? Who is the Sararak exactly, they wonder.
I am not sure. It could apply to the god that created the tomb, or perhaps Dendar.
These trickster gods are far below the might of Dendar.
Irame will say to Kapernicus, it seems our inhabitants view themselves as gods, so it could be one of them.
It would be wise to assume you would need our help if you wish to take on the creator of this place.
It seems to me that words such as this will become more clear as we explore the tomb.
I think we could also assume that perhaps this set of clues applies to the next level.
It does seem odd that there is a passage with clues at the beginning of every
Well, I mean, they are trickster
we don't know
gods.
that.
They probably think it's fun to watch people figure out riddles.
I wish that I can take credit for these artistic words. However, I am certain not one of us wrote these.
Obalaka tells me some other dickhead wrote these.
Arame's gotten quite crass.
That was actually Christy with her glass of wine.
Yeah, which I see is almost empty.
So while Kapernicus and Wongo go back and forth about who is going to be the master, the group discusses the possibility of a long rest.
I believe it's safe to take a long rest. We probably all need it.
I think now I am quite more willing, as I am also depleted.
I'm beat up. I want to take a long rest too.
So now the party returns to the rust room where they prepare to settle in for a long rest. They recall prior events when Zavril almost perished within that onyx chest.
I would expect no less of the hunter. I have seen him withstand much pain.
Yeah, so have I.
So during the long rest, the sounds of clanking and otherwise other shuffling sounds were coming from the corridor to the south where that stairway went down to the level below. Kapernicus begins to focus on his magical armor again, as when he discarded the spirit of Obalaka, his magical items became unattuned.
Are we talking about attuning?
Yeah.
Can you attune moat? Can you attune moat to both things?
What the hell?
Very well spoken, Christy. I admire your eloquence.
Pinkies up, bitches.
So spirits were high, obviously. Everybody regained their lost hit points. They patched themselves up. All except for Kapernicus, who took that necrotic damage, which was removed from his max hit points.
Be cool if you got like a white stripe of hair or some shit.
Yeah, man, sucks to be you. All the abuse I've taken, at least I still have all my fucking hit points.
And life has a balance. Perhaps you'll be rewarded in some other way in the future.
Have we explored this entire floor?
Yeah, I was just
No.
wondering that myself. Perhaps it would be safest to explore the entirety of the first level before moving forward. Well,
The
it's
river inside of the that shadow area, the well.
I'm not going in the river. I already went in the river and touched that disgusting skull head. With no thanks, by the way.
I actually do feel like we should investigate the river.
Why the river? It seems, I don't know, almost separate from the tomb.
I might agree with the elf. It is perhaps inconsequential.
Might be a waste of resources. Or perhaps... Wait! Are there any creatures that dwell in water that perhaps we could be missing their lair?
Like a frog.
Like a frog.
Kissed by a princess for the very first time. I mean, ultimately, Svitlangi will go with everybody, but I am with Airmay in terms of questioning the value of the river.
Yes, I don't see much value in it.
It was now when Kapernicus made the suggestion to go and investigate the stairs to the south.
But where, like, that juggalo thing was?
Was there also clanking?
No, he's talking about
these
yes. Stairs.
Gotcha, those stairs.
It's on the way to the river, sure.
And so the group turns their attention to the corridor to the south. And as they move down it, that sound of clanking and working grows louder and louder. Zavril Dawntracker, taking point, stops the group at the top of the stairs. As he glances down into the room below, he can see flames dancing on the walls cast from braziers. And he makes the attempt to listen more closely, to define who or what is making those sounds.
Give an assist on that, so roll advantage.
I'll take a 20 on my perception.
So with a 20 perception, it wasn't difficult for Zavril to distinguish the sound from man or machine. As methodic as the sound was, slight discrepancies does suggest that it is not just one individual, but several individuals working on something. But what?
Perhaps driven by hypnosis or magic?
Or the power of the river.
Flame.
Perhaps.
After you, Kapernicus. I don't want to hold you up.
I'm certainly not going down first.
And with Wongo in his ear, Kapernicus mumbles something under his breath, probably in the vein of how useless his teammates are. He raises his buckler and proceeds down the stairway.
Svitlangi's willing to go second.
So now, for the first time since we've entered the Tomb of Annihilation, I am transitioning the players to a new map. Level 2.
I know we just uncovered all of the dark areas on this map, and now we're just going to see a little
shit map again.
Yep, we're going to be engulfed in darkness,
descending into the darkness.
Actually, that brings up a good question. At this floor, we still had sunlight and daylight.
Cracks of light.
Yeah. What?
This room is strictly lit by the braziers, the flames dancing off the walls.
So would you say it's dim light naturally?
Nope, regular light.
Okay. I was wondering, is dark vision essentially, does it just put you at one light level above?
Yep.
Yeah.
So dark is dim and dim is bright.
Okay.
Sounded like I was saying a fucking curse. Dim is bright, night is day, and day is night.
You need a knife, like, gouging into something while you're doing it.
Oh my god, that really is a little shit map.
Kapernicus enters this room brazenly. Old wooden benches and shelves along the walls of this chamber are covered with gears, chains, trap components, and cages filled with rats. Lit iron braziers hang by chains from the ceiling. Along the north wall, a stepped dais is set with a bulky contraption, an iron maiden of sorts, attached to a network of steaming pistons, tubes, and bubbling vats of blood. 5 masked dwarves operate this contraption. And as Kapernicus, you enter the room, they all turn around slowly and stare at you a moment.
This is one of those situations where you kind of enter a scene and everybody stops what they're doing and looks at you.
Crossbows on their backs. They reach and pull out their battle axes that were hanging off of their belts.
I say we let them go.
4 of which start walking at you, and the 5th one throws a switch. The iron contraption shudders as it opens, releasing a hissing cloud of steam. Through the rolling vapor, an armored figure wearing a bucket helm stomps into view. You've got 5 of these tomb dwarves walking at you with battle axes in hand now, and this large armor-clad fleshy golem as well. We're gonna roll for initiative next time on the Natty 19 podcast.
Copernicus walked in there like a fucking idiot.
I'm not going to try to be quiet or nothing. That was harsh. I think they're like water bears. Bears.
Water bears. Water bears.
Water bears in my beer. Oh, they should totally market them like sea monkeys.
Yeah.
You see them on the pictures. They look all cute and everything.
But they're really just little fucking...
Oh, they're little nasty critters is what they are in reality, and they're fucking impervious to everything.
All I could picture is one of these things in a little captain's chair in each one of our skulls, you know? Commence pretending to play D&D as humans.
My water bear wears leopard print spandex. One of his controllers always gets stuck.
So,
He spilled coffee in it.
is that why you're always bumping into walls?
Cheers.
Bring my wine, peasant.
I wanted to get a picture of you, like when you were, because your eyes were so, I don't know, you looked like the Bride of Frankenstein.
Thank you, Charlie.
Ordering.
Charlie always does give me great compliments. One time he told me I look like a wicked stepmother. I almost fainted with glee.
Now you're making me feel like I should say something nice to you sometime. Do I only say bad things? I'm sure I've thought nice things.
You don't only say bad things.
Okay.
Sometimes you mock me. That happens too.
All right, I think I'm gonna. What I'm hearing is that I have to be a nicer friend. I love you guys.
Now you're just a drunk friend.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And again, I want to apologize for the shorter and kind of oddball episode, and know that we are going to try to implement a fail-safe recording to prevent this sort of thing from happening again. Thanks for understanding. And if you have any questions or concerns, as always, you can write them in at natty19podcast@gmail.com. That's natty19podcast@gmail.com. And you can put my name, Jonathan, in the subject line, and I'll be happy to answer. Next week, we'll be returning to our regular styled episodes. So until then, I'm out.